the first step that was really important for me was these three steps you have to implement for a finance presentation, because it helps you really put yourself in a structure that will help you get a message to deliver in a presentation. And this message can take the form of anything. It can be a full storyline, it can be an executive summary, or it can be an elevator pitch that you could just throw in one sentence and people will understand everything. And the structure is actually the what, now what, and so what. So actually, this begins with the what. What is your analysis, and what do you see that you want to share to the people? Of course, if you have to present something, it's because you have something that you discovered and you have to show it. So let's say, for example, that during the month-end closing, you analyze the figures, you see that there is a huge deviation in the revenues of, I don't know which BU. And so there, what you see is actually this. So the global element, so revenues decreased by X%. And the analysis is a bit further. So you have to give more information about what you discovered. Let's say, for example, you saw that there is a huge decrease in revenues. Why? Because 2 shops closed during 2 weeks because of a lack of electricity. So basically, there you give full information without spending too much detail on what doesn't matter. So here you directly target on what matters for the people, and this is where there is an insight to give something new that the people didn't really know about, or actually that they didn't really expect. This is really important at that stage to center your thoughts on what matters. You can have 10, 15 BUs. If the others can move from one point to the other, but if you don't really have something to say that matters to the people, leave them apart. It's not that they don't matter. There are other ways to mention those things, but in presentation, focus on one point that will really matter. Then you jump to the next stage, and this is actually the emotional moment. This is where the people have to understand that it's important to them. When we speak, and that's true that when you go to an executive committee or a direction committee, you have sales people, you have marketing people, you have all types of profiles. Finance is not always their first matter, their first concern. So here you have to make them understand why it should matter to them. And here, typically in the example I gave about the sales, well, when you mention that 2 shops were closed, it matters to them because first you won't reach the targets that you expected for the revenues, and secondly, for the real estate responsible, you can also, it matters because there is a dysfunctioning in 2 shops regarding the electricity and the power. So there is maybe something to do there that will have an influence not only on our costs, but also on our revenues. And so here people will start to understand, okay, I have to pay attention to what he's telling me because I have an interest in there. And this is really important that people feel this interest, this self-interest. People are always self-centered, so they will matter. It will matter to them if it matters to their objectives. Then the third step, and this is where you cross the line of the analyst to the business partner, is the now what. So thanks to the fact that you have a business acumen and that you know how it works, you know the modelization, but you also know how the business works, you know the links between the shop, the fact that there is a revenue, the region, and so on, you can propose something. I don't say that you have to that you need to solve everything, but you have to come up with some proposition. And if you come with 2 or 3, that's even better, because you don't give the impression that you decide for them, you give the choice, but it will be your role to determine which one will be the best financially speaking. So you will make your own sensitivity test and determine which option you give, which action there will be needed for to develop an action that will solve the issue. So for example, here clearly you can say that obviously there was something regarding the power. We didn't really have anything problematic with the customer of that and that shop. So the first thing that would be to do is make an audit of the power structure there, or engage some work so that it would be solved. And you can even push the button of what's next, what are we going to do to compensate these 2 weeks of power outage so that the revenue can go back to normal. So here it's where your accountant job is actually evolving into the advisor job. And I say advisor, don't decide for the people, they hate it. That's important. Here, it's important to be also factual, to give some figures, because after all, this is our role as finance professionals, to provide people with enough details so they can decide, but not too much so they cannot be they are not lost here. So I don't know what you think about the structure, but it has helped me a lot in my different presentations of the results, or the forecast, the 5-year plans. And it helped me really center my thoughts on 1 or 2 important messages.
No, I like the structure a lot, especially the so what part. So I absolutely agree that unless you involve them, unless you show them something that is important to their goals or their objectives, uh, without showing them what's in it for them, it's difficult to capture their attention and make sure that they listen to you, and then after listening to you they take some action you want them to take, or probably it's whatever the action is in the best interest of the company.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
absolutely bringing them on board is the most important part. And also the now what or what's next, giving recommendations is a good idea, but obviously not giving them exactly what they need to do, but just guiding them so that they can decide for themselves.
This is the tricky part,
Mhm.
because many times I went too far and I got the feedback, yeah, you work in finance, don't decide for
Yeah,
us. We are
yeah.
the one deciding.
Uh,
So this is why I give this big disclaimer.
mhm.
Uh, don't give the impression that you decide for them.
Yeah.
That's really important.
No, I have made that mistake as well, and sometimes people appreciate it, sometimes they don't.
But that's
Mhm.
the important part, where the famous know your audience is really important. I haven't mentioned it because there are so many things to say when you speak about presentations, but know your audience comes really often, and this is not just a classy way to say prepare your presentations. No, when you receive an invitation to a presentation, or that you organize it yourself, try to understand who the boss is, what's his character, how he works with other people, what's his reaction when he gets a presentation. Does he ask a lot of questions? Those are really important things, but of course I cannot cover everything today, so I limited myself.